Well, hello and welcome or welcome back to Read Becca. Today we are going to do a video that's kind of unusual, untried, untested by me so far, but I'm kind of stealing this concept from Shannon Riddler. Shannon did a quick reflection back on films and trends she saw in the films she had watched months and months ago, I think probably early this year or end of last year. And I've had it in the back of my mind that I want to kind of steal the idea. So I'm doing that now. This is going to be very off the cuff, very casual, and hopefully very quick. I'm gonna try to make it quick. So I'm gonna be browsing through my Goodreads on my tablet here and looking for those trends and themes of what I was reading. I think this year it's especially appropriate, even though I had planned on doing something like this very early in the year. This year my reading has changed massively. So looking back at these first 6 months is going to be important to me in that I want to know what trends I am following and whether those trends are serving me or not, how I should be shaping things going forward. So I think this is gonna be, as I said, very casual and quick, hopefully, and I'm gonna probably put up graphics of the books that fit under a trend or fad, theme, whatever, here, so you can see them. If you have questions about what a book is, just ask down below. I'm not going to talk about specific titles, I don't think. So onward to reviewing the Goodreads stats list here. I have hit 67 books at the moment in terms of my reading for the year, which is quite high. Yes, that is a good number. Very happy with that, but that is actually quite low for me around this point of the year, like 20 or 30 books low compared to normal. That's fine. My reading at the beginning of the year was a little unusual. I had specific projects that were going on, and also my brain was not working right for reading, so I was having real struggles with actually the act of reading. So I was expecting that to be low, but it is still a very good number for the year. So looking for the actual trends here, one that jumps out right off because I was expecting it and I knew it was going to happen, is that I did the Read What You Own challenge at the start of the year, and that lasted the first 3 months of the year. And as a result of that, I read a lot of backlist comparatively. I'm not a huge new release reader. I definitely do not get dominated by new releases, but there's a really good amount of backlist here, and I'm happy about that. But that, as a result, I read a good amount of classics, and they didn't overtake anything, but most of the classics that I read, I really enjoyed and felt strongly about. So those are classics for a reason, and that tells me I probably need to be turning to classics more often than I do, because some of these were stellar, absolute, probably going to be favorites of the year. The other one that's very obvious to me because I was specifically going toward it is Elder Protagonists. And I was going toward it because it was very exciting and, or is still very exciting to me and is something that is pulling me in really strongly. I'm seeing a huge number of Elder Protagonist books on here, and I think I will be continuing on with that theme because I have connected so well with those characters. And I feel like even ones I haven't liked as much as a book, the characters have pulled me in, definitely. So yeah, that's a winning theme for sure. Other themes that are common to my reading, definitely nature. Nature has been really big in both fiction and nonfiction here, and the BookTube Prize brought me some additional nature reading in nonfiction as well, so that's really boosted my nature numbers. But that is something that always appears strongly in my reading, I think, but is very strongly represented this year, even more so. Food is something that comes up in my reading a lot. Again, both fiction and nonfiction is represented there, and I think food is something that comes up as a very calming influence, as an element in books. And that is really what I turned to here. I think I was struggling with reading and was turning a lot to things that were comforting and relaxing. So food definitely became very prominent because of that. I think because of that factor, I also turned to some very light, fluffy reads. So I have a lot of short, light, a bit saccharine maybe reading here. And that's maybe an area where I don't know what to think about that trend, because I feel like a huge amount of these were not that strong. They were maybe 3 or 3.5 star reads, but yet I enjoyed them and I kind of got what I wanted out of them. So I don't know what to do with that analysis. That's one I'm gonna have to take away and think about, I think, because I don't want to cut out the light, insubstantial reads. I really like those short, quick reads that are just gentle and calming. What else is here? I guess the most surprising thing that I'm seeing right off is the prominence of biography and memoir. I knew my nonfiction reading has been way up this year. I had one of my goals is relating to nonfiction, and it has been blown out of the water, definitely. I think I need to look at numbers. I have not done any of the numbers stuff yet, but I'm pretty sure I'm almost half and half with fiction and nonfiction for this year, which is very unusual for me. So nonfiction has definitely been dominant, but bio and memoir have been so much more prominent than ever before in my reading here. And I think that's going to continue. I feel like a number of my really strongest reads have been in that space. And I feel very good about bio and memoir. I've loved hearing the individual stories that I've read, the history that I've connected with in some of the biographies has been so fantastic. And I think, not surprising, but something that is prominent as an element or theme in a lot of my reading here is toxic family relationships. Whether, again, fiction or nonfiction, I've had quite a bit of that with people discussing their individual relationship with family members that was toxic, that led to some other things in their lives, or exploring how toxic family members have affected people as a character in fiction is a very strong thing that I have been leaning toward. And I feel like those kind of stories have a lot of complexity. It's also such a common thing to happen in reality that I think it would be weird if that weren't totally prominent in my reading a bit, just because it's so typical. What else? So I think that the only other things I'm noticing are things that are missing or sort of absent. We're not necessarily missing, but low numbers here. I see a very little amount of science fiction and fantasy, and it's still prominent enough that it could be its own category of trends here. But for me, it is a much lower number than typical. So science fiction and fantasy is way down. And I've never been a person who reads a lot of very traditional fantasy. I'm not the big epic fantasy reader, but I clearly am just moving away from that and moving more into certain niches of those genres. And I still enjoy them very much. So I don't know what I want to do with that. If I want to boost back up those numbers, I don't think I do. I feel like my reading balance right now and having the smattering of wide-ranging genres is really working for me. So yeah, that shapes who I am as a reader so much, or has shaped who I am as a reader so much, that it feels weird to be sort of meandering away from science fiction fantasy the past couple of years, but it definitely seems like that's the direction I am going. And then 5-star reads are very low. Not because I've had a bad reading year, I don't think. I feel very good about my reading year so far in terms of the quality of reading has been very good. But my 5 stars have been really low. And looking back at that kind of beginning of the year where I was struggling with reading and my brain was not in the right place, I don't know if my mood then played into this, but I had hardly any 5 stars in the first quarter, very few. And I was not feeling that emotional connection that boosts something into a 5-star very much. I think one of my 5 stars at that point was a reread, or 2 of my 5 stars on here are rereads. So I don't know, maybe I need to reread more? I don't know. But regardless, the 5 stars that I am seeing here, I feel really strongly about and had a great connection with. So compared to previous years where I felt a respect for a lot of books that made it to a 5-star, I had many more in both columns where it was a really strong emotional connection and I just loved the book, was super passionate about the book. And then I also had a balance of books that were just a respected book that I felt was of the quality to be a 5-star. Here, I really don't have any of those. I have just books I felt really excited about and loved the reading experience. And very much fewer of them. I think we're at like a quarter of what I read last year for 5 stars at this point. So it is much lower, but I'm feeling excited about these. So most of these, I'm going to struggle to do best ofs for the year because most of these are very strong feeling 5 stars. So that's interesting. I may wind up with just a 5-star list that is my favorite books of the year if this turns out that way, because I don't have this massive, overwhelming list of 5 stars. So that could be an intriguing outcome. So I'm not immediately seeing anything else. So I will, I think, leave this here in terms of my reading retrospective, looking back at the past 6 months at where I want to go, what I want to shift. Yeah, so I think that is very, very exciting. Let me know if you noticed any trends that I missed here in the books. And I think that's it for me today. Thank you so very much for watching.